Hi guys, today we're going to do Unit 5, Lesson 5, which is about pedigrees. So they're kind of like family trees of genetics. If you guys want to read more or see more examples, go to page 344 in your textbook. We're going to write them together towards the end, but I thought it was a little easier to just kind of talk about it and you guys see my writing so you can go at your own pace. So if you want to pause it and write it and then listen, then that's probably a good idea. So anyways, pedigrees trace the occurrence of a trait through generations of a family. So generation means like your grandparents are one generation, your parents are the second generation, and then you're the third generation. Some of you might have four generations. So if you have a great grandparent that is living, technically then you have four generations living right now. So anyways, I like to call them family trees of genetics, and you'll see them in a second. But there's a lot of shapes and a lot of lines and colors, and they all mean things, and they look really complicated at first, but you'll find that they're actually kind of easy. So with pedigrees, we typically trace some sort of trait of genetics. So you could literally make a pedigree of people who are right-handed versus left-handed in your family, or who is colorblind or not colorblind, or who has freckles or not, or who has brown eyes versus blue eyes, or green eyes, or whatever. So you can pick one, and you guys are going to do that towards the end, and I'll show you one of mine, and then we will go from there. But sometimes with pedigrees, we trace general genetics, but sometimes we trace sex-linked disorders. So a disorder is some sort of medical difference. So a color blindness, hemophilia. So for example, color blindness is carried on the sex chromosome of an X, but sometimes they can be male carried. So if it's an X, both males and females have X's. So a male, and I wrote it here as a reminder, a male has one X and one Y chromosome, and a female has two X's. So if it's a Y carried trait, it cannot be carried to a female because they don't have a Y. However, most sex linked disorders are carried on an X chromosome, which means that it could be boys or girls. Okay, and they typically find that there are more colorblind males than females, so I think that's kind of interesting to study. Okay, but we're going to move down here. So I'm just going to show you the general coding real quick. So for coding, there are a couple of things you guys need to pay attention to. And again, if you want to pause it and write it real quick so that you can listen to me explain it, or you can go with me and then at the end maybe rewatch it to get a better explanation. So the way we code it is a square is a male and a circle is a female. So we just do these shapes to show if they're male or female. If there's a line that connects them, so like this, that means that they mated. So in typical format, they could be married or they had a baby, but mated means that they produced offspring, so they have children of some sort. When you see these branches, means that they had children, so their DNA is now together. So this would be the dad and this would be the mom. And the reason I know that is because of the shapes. And then they had three kids. So they had a boy and then two girls. So you can see that when you go from left to right, it is the oldest to the youngest. So we know that they had a boy first, and then they had a girl, and then they had another girl. So this would be a son, daughter 1, and daughter 2. So that's just a general gist of how you code a pedigree. Now on the side here, this is not shown on this. I just wanted to show you how the family lines worked. But if you see a shape, and I just use circles, but it could be squares. Circles, that means that if it's completely shaded, they have the trait that you are tracking. So let's say you are tracking who in your family is right-handed, okay? Then you would literally color in every single person that has right-handedness, and it would be completely not shaded in if they were left-handed. You would have a half one if somebody was like ambidextrous, which means that they can actually write with both hands. So you can track it. You can say, oh, my aunt so-and-so is left-handed, and that makes sense why my cousin Luke is also left-handed. So you guys can track those as you go. So we're going to go through actually my family example. So that's how you can tell. So we also call this a carrier, which means that sometimes you'll find that like a trait might skip a generation. So maybe your grandma has really blue eyes, and then your parents have brown or green, but then you have blue eyes. Well, your parents carried that trait, they just didn't show it, but then you got that trait. So that's kind of how it can happen with like heterozygous alleles and things like that. You can be a carrier or half shaded. So I'm going to flip the page. And I already kind of started to map out my families, and then I'm going to do it with you. But so if you want to pause it and write my family down, this is my, I'm going to show you here in a second, because you don't know which one is me, but this is actually my paternal side of the family. Okay, so let's go ahead and learn those words real quick. So we have paternal, which means father side, and maternal equals your mother side. Okay, so my paternal grandmother and grandfather are still alive, but my maternal grandma and grandpa are actually passed. So this I could do on my mom's side, but these have since died, and you actually put a line through them if they are deceased. So we're gonna go ahead and start to go through this, okay? So we always write Roman numerals usually for generations. So we would have a Roman numeral of a 2 and a Roman numeral of a 3 and a 1. But you could write it with numbers or Roman numerals. So I'm going to go ahead and point out that this right here is me. So this is Miss Jones. Okay, I'm a female, so it's a circle. As you can see, this would be my father and my mother, and then this is my younger sister, Abby. Okay, what you would find is that this shows, if you didn't know, you could look up here and see that my dad is connected to the line. So this is why this is my paternal side of the family. So just some general things to point out. So my grandma and my grandpa had 5 kids because there are 5 branches. They actually had 4 boys and then a girl, okay? And then all of them mated and had children. So these are my cousins. So this generation 3 is my sister and I and our cousins. These are all our aunts and uncles and our parents. And then this is my grandparents. So they had 5 children. We're going to actually trace my blood disorder. So my blood disorder is called hereditary spherocytosis. And hereditary means that I inherited it from a parent. So obviously I would hope you would know that obviously I traced it from my dad's side, or got it from my dad's side of the family, which is why I'm tracing it. So I have the blood disorder, so mine is completely shaded. Okay, my sister does not. So my sister is blank. She does not have it. My mom also does not have it, but my dad does have it. Okay, so my father has it. I obviously got it from my dad. So what happens is every time that I have a child, they're going to have a 50-50 chance of getting it because I have it, just like my dad. And it just worked out that I have it and my sister does not. But technically, we both could have not gotten it. We both could have gotten it. She could have gotten it and I couldn't have. Every time that we have a kid, it's a flip of a coin. So it's not like, oh, it's 50-50, meaning if you have 4 kids, 2 of them are going to have it and 2 of them aren't. There's possibility of one having it and then the other 3 not. So it's a flip of a coin. Sometimes it's like no matter what, your kid is going to have it or at least be a carrier, but ours is a 50-50 chance. So my dad actually got it from my grandma. Okay, so my grandma has it, but my grandpa does not. So each time that they had one of their kids, they had a 50-50 chance. So my first uncle, my Uncle Steve, he does not have it. My second uncle, Keith, he does not have it. My dad got it. My other uncle, Craig, he got it. And then my aunt, Jennifer, did not get it. So right here, with my uncle having it, okay, he had 2 kids, and my cousin got it. So out of all 8 of the grandchildren, only 2 of us got it, okay, which is really good. And then only 2 of the 5 kids got it. So this is how you would track it. Now, none of these people are carriers. It is obviously not sex linked because my grandma and I are females, and then my my dad and my cousin are males. So it does not get carried through a sex gene necessarily, but it is about a 50-50 chance depending on if whoever you're mating with has it or other different things. But so this is my pedigree of my family, tracing my hereditary spherocytosis, which is just a blood disorder. It just means my red blood cells are shaped a little differently than your guys's. This is a similar thing to sickle cell. And some other diseases. You can trace like cystic fibrosis through a family diagram, which is called a pedigree again. So what I would like you guys to do is, you maybe don't have a disease, which is good. Maybe you just want to track who in your family has freckles, or who in your family has blue eyes, or who in your family has the widow's peak, or who can roll their tongue. So I'm going to challenge you. I'm going to put a little squiggly line here. Okay, I want you to make your own. So my pedigree. Now, most of the time, we do not see a whole bunch of like half shaded in on the pedigrees unless we've done some like genetic counseling, or we can tell that we're a carrier. Sometimes you can tell if like a grandparent has it and then the kid, then you know that parent then would have to be a carrier, so you could kind of fill those bubbles in. But I would like you guys to tell me what trait you guys are tracking. So are you tracking whether or not somebody has a widow's peak, and you can look online for ideas if you can't think of anything, but I would like you to pick a trait. I would like you to have at least 3 generations. Okay, so 3 generations of your family. Okay, I want you to point out which one is you, so put your name. And then I want you to make sure you're shading in or leaving them blank, or half shading in if it's a carrier. And then I want you to tell me which side of your family is this. Is this your maternal or your paternal side? So is this your mom or dad's side of the family? Now, some people have asked me how you make a pedigree of siblings who are not full siblings. So maybe some half siblings out there. So I'm going to show you that real quick. Half siblings definitely you would have to include, and step siblings, if they don't have the same genetics as you, as in like you don't have the same mom or dad, then you don't include them technically, because this is tracing genetics and DNA. So here's how you would show. So like let's say this is your mom, okay, and she's connected to her parents. Sorry. She's connected to her parents, right? And let's say your mom had a first husband and they had a daughter, okay, and then they're separated, and then she got married and she had a son, and then she had another son, and then this one is you. So this just shows that they are no longer together, but she still had a daughter, so this would be your half sister because you guys both share the same mom. You can do this again the same way with dad. So go ahead and try to make sure you include everyone. This is your family. If you have a question about something, please let me know. And if you see I did a line like this, that means that they're no longer together. Let's say this was my mom's side of the family. Both of my grandparents have since passed, so I would actually draw a line straight through them like this. That just means that they have passed away. So this means that they're no longer together. This means that they're no longer with us. So I'm really hoping that you guys choose a trait that is meaningful to you. I would like to see, you can use colors, make sure you're shading things in. But I would love to see your pedigrees, because this is something we would be doing in class. I just think it's fun, and it's something for us to get to know you a little bit better, and for me to kind of see that you are understanding it. So if you guys have questions, please feel free to text me through Remind or send me an email. Have a wonderful day, guys. I miss you so much. I will see you later.